and Amrish Gupta. May I invite Amrish on the stage, please?
Hello. Hello, everyone. So we have privileged to have Praveen from Jabong, who is the founder and MD at the e-commerce company, to come here. Uh, all of us know how e-commerce in last 8 years have absolutely transformed the product ecosystem and the technology ecosystem in India. And it's 5 years back, it was a small, e-commerce was a small industry kind of growing up in the press everywhere, but it's kind of reached a maturity level now. And what we are seeing is because of e-commerce, many new industries are coming up. So please welcome Praveen on the stage, who's going to talk about the history of how e-commerce evolved, what the current stage is, and what the impact of e-commerce is going to be in the product technology ecosystem in India. Thank you.
Thanks, Amrish. So I think many of us would already know, but let me share my perspective on how e-commerce has evolved and how is it bit different from, let's say, US or China. I think the way e-commerce generally evolves is by removing the arbitrage, and especially information arbitrage. And the first one to go is content. The second one is where there is no need of physical delivery, and then the third is easy product description and a physical delivery. Then moves to a complex product which is not easy to explain and has a touch and feel, and then finally moves to complex financial instruments. So broadly, that's how we have seen it to evolve everywhere. So it starts with a travel booking, then it moves to classified or a CV portal or a Shadi portal. Then it moves to books, electronics, fashion, and then verticals of a general merchandiser. And then it moves to financial services. So in India, what is happening different is across the world, the whole ecosystem has been seen. And even when the market size has not reached the level of, let's say, 50 billion or 100 billion, where the verticals are large enough to support multiple startups, early stage people have entered. So you will find a general merchandiser, a fashion merchandiser, a health portal, eyeglass portal. So all the portals coming, even beauty, etc., and they are evolving. However, the market size is almost 6 to 10 billion. So once it reaches 30 billion, all the verticals will be large enough to not support only one company, but multiple. Now coming specific to India, I think a huge support from both customers and investors. That is the second differentiation that we see in India. The investment and the customer acceptance is much higher compared to other parts of the world and the stage in which we are. So given the market size, the investment is larger than the market size today. Two, the growth has been more than 70 to 120% based on the verticals that we operate in. So broadly, multiple traction, and the way we look at it is that fundamentally the business model is really strong. The size can be huge. We have references where 350 billion GMV to 120 billion GMV companies are there. In China, it's crossing 350 billion and having similar size population. In few years' time, India will also reach that. And hence, we see so much competition and traction here.
I'll ask you a question. It come out to be a little provocative. But when I was starting my company, and a whole bunch of e-commerce companies were starting at the same time, And people say, what is e-commerce? E-commerce is just a website, right? You go there, and put out a bunch of products and, a payment system linked to it, and then people buy. Anybody can do it. So, but it seems that is not the case. We have gigantic companies got built up. What is the difficult thing about the e-commerce business?
See, I think one, I agree with the first part that it's not super difficult to start. What is more difficult is to scale. And the early stages, it's a function of assortment, and you can have multiple level of differentiation. To us, the way I look at it is generally price competitiveness is something which is a hygiene which most of the companies will follow, and people assume it to be slightly cheaper than the other modes of purchase. The second element is, I think, assortment. Do you have the products that consumer wants? Do you have exclusivity around it, or the long tail assortment around it? So most of the products that you want will be found there. The probability is there. The second is the service level. So the service level can be at multiple fronts, from the way purchase, transaction, payment gateway, to delivery services, to the email response, to call center. So there are multiple elements to service level. And the third is, how do you stand as a positioning or a branding in terms of what do you stand for in a later phase of journey, that also becomes relevant. So these, I would say, are the three differentiation. Having said that, I think there is no unique one element which you can protect and say that this protects me as a leader for long. What happens is you have to be you have to run faster. So you come out with a new innovation, it will get copied in few months, come out with another one, so that you are positioned as number one all the time, with not on one element, but just by bringing in a lot of elements which customers like.
It sounds like E is easy, the commerce is the difficult part.
That's, I fully agree with you. So creating a website is not difficult. In fact, I have friends in my network who have successfully developed profitable e-commerce models, but their revenue would be less than $1 million or not more than 2 million, but profitable and good enough in terms of fulfilling their opportunity cost. So there can be multiple models to it, but large size general merchandiser and fashion merchandiser is a skill of how do you scale, and then it also becomes a skill of how can you raise capital.
Another interesting thing that I'm seeing, because of e-commerce, a whole bunch of other industries are kind of coming up. So you have like logistics, delivery, payment industry is getting solved. This whole, the marketplaces are evolving, and then because marketplaces are evolving, there's software getting done for those small businesses to service them. What do you foresee because of this billions and billions of dollars being invested in e-commerce in terms of impact in the Indian industry and new opportunities that are developing that many of the entrepreneurs who are sitting here potentially can go and build a business on?
See, I think there are certain sectors which has multiplying effect, much larger than any other. So the older age, what river used to do, industry did in the later generation, and today is such technological disruption. So if you see, even cab booking will create humongous amount of employment. So for e-commerce, I think there are multiple level of, I would say, opportunities getting created. The closer and very easily observable is logistics supply chain, so which has warehousing as a potential. However, I see warehouse supply to be more than what even e-commerce can consume in the 2 to 4 years time frame. The second is the intercity transportation, be it air cargo, surface cargo, etc., surface transportation. That is the bottleneck. There can be huge capacity expansion there. The third is last mile delivery, where you see a huge opportunity to scale, and given the service level expected, again, very large. The second element are many innovative technology startups, be it a size recommendation, be it a comparison site, be it a payment gateway, even payment options like wallet, etc. So there are multiple opportunities where these e-commerce ventures require support, and they are probably not focusing, or someone else has come out with innovation. The third area is the seller base itself. So if you see, e-commerce is so enabling to the entrepreneur community, you don't need the size of a big corporate to reach all over India. You don't need to set up shops, etc. So we have seen in our journey, in fact, in fashion, some college dropouts starting or selling less than 1 lakh to crossing 1 crore a month, and that also within a time frame of less than 2 years. So we have seen huge growth. Some SMEs multiplying 6 times of their revenue in 1 to 1.5 years. Many new ventures coming and selling if they know what they are trying to produce and what customers they are targeting. So we see huge opportunities there, and not only in our segment, across. So even services, I have met few ventures who are doing food delivery to corporates, and they are trying to create marketplace for home cooked food. So housewife can cook for 2 people. So you get an extra income source when you are relatively free or based on the skills that you have. So long term, I see that if this support and infrastructure is developed, many micro entrepreneurs will also get created, which will be huge for us, because employment is a big issue, and self-employment will probably solve the situation here.
No, absolutely, I think there's amazing amount of capital and the expertise have flown into small businesses because of e-commerce, and I think that will create large opportunity everywhere in Indian technology and in the regular commerce ecosystem. Well, our time is up, but if you guys have any questions, Praveen going to be here for a couple of more minutes. Please feel forward, come down and ask the questions if you have any. Thank you so much, Praveen, for being here.
Thank you. Thanks, Amrish.
Thank you, Praveen and Amrish, for an interesting session. Amrish, may I request you? We break for a short tea break, and request all of you to come back by 11:15 for our next session.